today what we will be doing, many people are not there today, so I'll continue. I will record this video. Let them see afterwards. So today what we want to do is we want to actually work on web scraping. We have to understand what exactly web scraping is and how it is exactly done in Python. Okay. So very simple concept, and Python is very much known for doing it, web scraping. So I think we'll have lots of fun. Okay. So we are discussing about web scraping. Web scraping basically means that you have a website. Okay, let's consider you already have a website, and from that website, if you try to understand how any website is built, okay, how any website is created, a website, whatever is there, right, it has two parts. Okay, or any web application. Any web application means what? Any application that you can open on your browser. Okay, so that application has two parts. One is called as front end, and another one is called as back end. Okay, so even if you want to create your own websites, you will have to create two things. One is front end, one is back end. In simplest words, what is front end? Front end is anything that you can see on your computer. For example, you open Facebook website, you will be able to see image, you will be able to see some icons, you will be able to see some text messages, you will be able to see like button, a comment button, all those kind of stuff, whatever you are able to see on any application, right? That part is called as front end. Backend is actually the part of the application which is not visible. So what is this? If it is not visible, what's the use of this? This is actually where all the processing will happen. Okay, so maybe like all the data is stored here, processing will happen, data is stored at the backend. Okay, so for example, if you created an account on Facebook, then where the data is actually stored? The data is not stored on front end. From front end, you will enter the data. From front end, you will have some input fields and you will have some submit button. If you click on that, the data you will take from the user from the front end, but the data is actually thrown or sent to the back end itself, and it is stored in the database. And last class we saw how to connect to database and how to store data into the database, and all those things we have seen in the last class, right? That thing will be happening at the backend side. Notice you started Apache server. Last class we started Apache server. So that is where a backend server we started. So let me first of all clarify what is the meaning of server. Okay, server is nothing but a computer. Very simple. It is nothing but a computer itself. How you have your laptop, similarly there is a computer. Only difference is that this computer is a little bit powerful one. Okay, and what is the use of this server? On this server, all the data and all those things are basically stored. So how actually this internet works? Let's try to see first. How internet works? Okay. So the way internet works is with the help of one model which is called as client server model. Client server model. Okay, what is client? Client is actually a computer. A computer can be a mobile phone, a laptop, a tablet, whatever. Okay, and what is server? Server is also a computer. So internet works by communication of two computers. Okay, these two computers, which is called as client and server, they try to communicate with each other. You might ask why they will communicate with each other. Because on server something is there, okay, which client wants to see. That's why. For example, on server you have all the data of all the Instagram, whatever someone has uploaded, the reels. All that data is stored on the server. I told you, right? All the data whatever is there will be stored on the server. To be specifically where it is stored in the database. To be more specific, on this server there is something called as database. This database is actually thing which we discussed in the last class, right? So this database is actually kept on the computer, which is called as server, and all the data is stored in this database. So maybe client wants to see some data, like maybe he wants to see the YouTube videos. Where are the YouTube videos stored then? They are actually stored on YouTube server. On YouTube server there are YouTube databases, and on that database the YouTube videos are stored, and the client wants to see the video, and it is just actually requesting the server to show the video. So a client sends a request, okay, maybe it will ask for whatever it wants, like it may ask to see a video, it may ask that to send some data or update some data, whatever. Those are all things which we discussed in last class. But the clients want something, so we say that client sends a request and server will give something, right? It may give the videos, it may give maybe some products information, all those kind of stuff. All the data what you're seeing on Amazon, all those products, images, all those stories, all those is stored in server. Whenever the client wants to see, the client will say, hey, give me this data, the server will give response. Okay, this request response whatever is there, right? Maybe client also wants to send some data sometime to the server. For example, someone is uploading a video. Okay, so he will upload a video from one computer, right? Maybe let's say I want to upload a video on YouTube. So I am having a computer, and from my computer I want to upload the video to YouTube, right? That means on YouTube server I want to upload the video. So I am called as client and YouTube server is called as server. Okay, so I will upload the video, so I will send a request to the server to store the video from my computer to YouTube server computer. And then whenever someone wants to see the video, let's say you want to see the video, so what you will do, you will actually send a request to the YouTube server and you will ask to display the video. So the server will send the video in response, and that is what is displayed on the client side. Okay, whatever is displayed, right, that is called as front end. Whatever is not displayed, whatever you cannot see, whatever is actually stored on the database, whatever is stored on the server side, that is actually called as backend. Some logic is written how to store this data into the database, how to get this data into the database. All these programs are there. Okay, that program is called as backend. All the processing. And the request response, if the client wants to send some data to the server, in which format it will send? JSON format. JSON is a standard format through which a client and server will exchange data. If client wants to send some response to the server, in which format it will send? JSON format. Okay, so JSON is just a format through which client and server will exchange data with each other. I hope you understood how internet will work. So whenever you go and type on the browser youtube.com, whenever you go on the browser and type www.youtube.com, this whole thing is called as domain name. This whole thing is called as domain name. Okay, so let's consider that there is a YouTube server here. I'll call it as YouTube server, and on this YouTube server there is a database, and in this database all videos are stored. All videos are stored. Okay, let's say we want to see a video, so we have a computer here, and on this computer we want to see the video, right? So this will act like a client. What client has to do? Client has to actually ask the server, hey, please give me the YouTube video. To ask the user, first of all you must know this where this computer is there. For example, let's say I want to reach your address, home. I must know your address, right? So computers also will have addresses or names through which you can find them. Okay, so for example, if I want to come to your home, I will ask what is the name and what is the address, so that I can find you and come, right? So similarly, computer also will have addresses. Every computer will have addresses which is connected to a network. Any computer which is connected to a Wi-Fi, internet, whatever network, it will have some address which is called as IP address. IP address is actually the address of that computer, where that computer is stored. Because if we know the address of any computer, we can easily be able to go to that particular computer, right? Very simple. You can go to that computer and you can see what is there inside the computer. So this client also, if he wants to actually connect to YouTube server, it has to know YouTube server's IP address. Why it has to know YouTube server IP address? Because I want to go to YouTube server, then I have to know the address, right, where that YouTube server is. So what happens is, IP address are usually represented in the form numbers like this, and it is very difficult, right, to remember this number. IP address numbers are very difficult to remember, but every computer will be given an address which is connected to a network, which is called as an IP address. Okay, and these computers are given such numbers which is very difficult to remember for humans. So what they did is they decided to give some names to these addresses. Okay, and the name that is given to IP address is called as domain name. So it is just like either you use IP address or you use domain name, it's one and the same. But only thing is IP address we cannot remember, so we gave some name to every IP address whatever the computer has been assigned to, and that name we call it as domain name. So now it's very easy to type www.youtube.com, right? This is the domain name, this whole thing is called domain name. But it was very difficult to type this one because you cannot remember only this. YouTube word you might remember, but this you will not remember. If you type this also on the browser, right, then you will come to the YouTube server itself. No issues with that. You will go there itself. But you should know the YouTube server's IP address. You can go and search what is the YouTube server's IP address. If you found that, if you type that in browser, then YouTube will open. Okay, if you type IP address, it will open, because you actually need IP address itself. If you want to go to any server, if you want to reach to any server, what do you need? You need the IP address of that particular server. But if you don't know the IP address, if you know the domain name, that is also fine. Okay, you just type domain name, and someone will sit in between, which is called as DNS, which will convert this domain name to IP address. Okay, at last we need IP address itself to reach to any server. So once we have the IP address, now we can easily communicate with the YouTube server. So what we say, the client is actually sending a request, and if client is sending any data, in which format it will send? JSON format, and the server will actually give some response to this in JSON format. It will give some response to this client, and that will be displayed on the browser, right? You know what is front end, you know what is back end, and you know what is domain name, what is DNS. DNS is this conversion of domain names into IP addresses, and these IP addresses will be used to actually reach to any server. I hope you know right now, whenever you will go and type on Google www.youtube.com, that time you know what exactly happens there. Okay, so the domain name is actually converted to IP address with the help of DNS, and that is how you go and reach to YouTube server or any particular server. Okay, so server is nothing but one computer who has some name or an address, and we want to actually see some data that is kept on the database of that server. And if you want to see that, you will have to know the address of that server, that is the IP address. If you know the IP address, you will be able to reach it, but it's very difficult to remember IP address, so they have given some names to that. Okay, so that's very simple. This is how it works. So what is exactly web scraping then? To understand web scraping, first of all, you have to understand what is front end and back end. Okay, so if you understand front end and back end, right, whatever you can see on the browser, right, how the data is getting displayed, the representation of the data, maybe animations are there, some chart is there, some table is there, or nav bar is there, navigation bar is there, all those kind of stuff, all those things, whatever is, how, what color is there, what image is there, what font is there, all the representation. So you can just consider that if there is a human being here, okay, there are different languages that are used to create front end. Okay, so if you want to create your own front end, if you want to create your own particular application which has the front end where how the data is getting displayed. See, the server will send data in which format? JSON format, right? So how the JSON format will look, you know, it will look like a dictionary. JSON in the sense it is the dictionary. It will have some key value pairs, like maybe title of the video, XYZ, something like this, big title is there. Okay, so it will be sent in the form of dictionary. So this data has to be presented in better format, right? This title has to be actually a box has to be created, then the word title has to come here, and then maybe like this icons you want to put, and you want to display the value whatever title is given from here, and you want to change the font, maybe you want to make it big, you want to make it small. All this work of styling work, all this work of arranging things in which corner you want to display the title of the screen, all this work is there, right, is actually done in front end. Okay, so this front end is created using some different languages which is called as HTML. A language is used to create front end, CSS and JavaScript. Very simple. JS, right? And backend also, different languages are used to create backend. Like one example is Python. Then C# is there, Java is there, PHP is there. All these are backend languages. What is the use of backend languages? All the logic is written. Okay, so there is a language which you will use at the backend where you will write what should happen when data comes like this, how you will be storing the data into the database, how you will be getting the data into the database. All those things last class we did, right? Fetching, writing some queries and all that was written in Python language itself, right? So all that code is actually written at the backend side. With the help of backend languages, right? And for the front end, it's very simple. It is having HTML, CSS, JavaScript. These languages are basically used to create front end. I hope you are clear with what is front end. Front end engineer's job is actually to make the representation look good or make the data look good. Maybe in which corner to place the data, whatever is coming from the server, maybe you want to place the video at the left corner, at the right corner, you want to display it at the full screen. These all decisions are taken, how to display the data, how to represent the data, which color to give, which font to give. All this will come inside front end. Back end will just deal about getting the data from the database and sending it back to the server, sending it back to the client. Okay, back end's responsibility is all about logic, core logic. Okay, how to interact with the database, how to get the data from the database, and all those kind of stuff is actually done by backend using these languages. Front end is done using these three languages. This is not OR, this is compulsory. All three languages are used. Okay, here OR, it's an OR. So you can use Python at the backend, or you can use C#, Java, PHP. OR option is there. But at the front end, you will have to use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. All. Okay. There are some specific reasons for it. HTML is used to create the skeleton. So let's consider we want to create a robot like this. Okay, so first of all we will have to create a skeleton of that particular robot where bones should be there and all those kind of stuff, right? Sangada or skeleton should look like this, right? So that skeleton of the website is created using HTML. What is the use of CSS then? CSS is used to style it. Okay, so this normal guy who is there, right, who is only skeleton, now will be converted into a nice guy who will have skin, who will have beautiful hairs, colorful hairs, who will have been colored, colorful skin, colorful in the sense, who will be made to wear proper clothes, all those kind of stuff. Styling work is actually done using this language, and JavaScript is basically going to give life to the website. That means this guy is actually having skeleton, this guy is actually wearing good clothes, this guy is actually doing everything. No issues with that. This guy is looking really beautiful when it comes to its looks. But there is one problem with this guy, that this guy is not alive. He is dead. He will not move itself. So he'll not move, right? That's what I told. CSS rules is basically this one. JS rules is that it will make it alive. Okay, now when you add JS inside your website, the website becomes dynamic. Okay, till now it was static. Static means no movement. Dynamic means movement will start. You can maybe put some animations, you can put lots of stuff inside that. That means this guy or this boy became alive. Okay, that is the role of these languages. I hope this is clear. So if this all things are clear, right, then what is this web scraping? Web scraping is actually going to the website, going to some random website, going to some random website and pulling some data from that website. Okay, so scraping means slicing type. Okay, web means what? The websites, whichever any website is there or any website that is created, right? Slicing some part of that website, that is called as web scraping, or getting some data from that website without its permission. Okay, without telling them. So going to some random website and getting some data from that website. That is called as web scraping. So if you did not understand this, then it's something like this. Okay, so maybe what you want to do is, I'll go to Flipkart. Okay, and this is actually, you should not try this on any other wrong websites. Okay, so Flipkart. You should not actually do this on all websites, because not everyone will give you permission to do scrape their websites and all. Okay, so if let's say if I open Flipkart, I got these things, right. So I want this information of all the products that are available inside this particular website. Okay, if I want to do that, I can actually scrape this website. Okay, it means I can collect all the data from this website and store it in my program, or maybe store it in the database, or store it in the Excel sheet. We can do that kind of stuff. Okay, this is called as web scraping the data from the website. Which data you want to scrape, that you can scrape. Okay, maybe you want to scrape only this image, you want to download this image, you can download it. Okay, if you learn how to web scrape, if you want this one, you can download it. Maybe you want the information of this particular bag. So all this data, whatever is there here, let's say I want the data of this particular bag. All the data that is available here, all this, whatever data is there here, this data I can pull it from this website, or I can scrape it from this website. That is called as web scraping. It is any website. Okay, let's say you have some table there, a table is displayed on our website. Let's say a table is getting displayed on the website, and there is no download button on that particular table, and somehow you want to actually download the data that is available inside the table. Okay, usually what happens, like NSC So maybe we have some kind of tables and all, and we want to pull that data. We want that data. Okay. So that time we can use these methods to pull that data, to scrape that data from that particular website. If there are no download if there is download option on the website itself, then you can click on the download button and you can download it. No issues with that. Okay. That time we will not use web scraping. But what if there is no download option? You want to download some data from some website and there is no download option that is given there. Then what you do? Then you can do it by scraping. Okay. In Python you can scrape that data and you can download it and take without their permission. Okay, so let me go to options. Where is my options? Maybe I want this to download this data. There is no download button here. Maybe you want to download this data. So that time all those things you can use this kind of stuff, which is called as web scraping. Let's see how to do it. We'll have a powerful library to do that, which is called as Beautiful Soup in Python. Okay, so I'll just type Beautiful Soup. So from now onwards, if you learn web scraping, you can actually go and scrape any website. You can get the code of that particular website, small part, only front-end code. Okay, I told you, right? Only the front-end code, because back-end code is actually kept on the server, and that code is not visible for you. Only front-end is visible. So you can scrape whatever you want. You can scrape some data, lots of stuff you can do. So let's see how to scrape this data. Beautiful Soup is the library. Looks like this is an HTML document, right? What is the HTML file? HTML is a skeleton, right, of any website. So any website front end is built using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So you will have to actually understand this first, that and how is any website built. So we are trying to scrape some data from that HTML document. Okay, that means from some HTML file is there, which these people have written, whoever has created that website, and from that we are actually grabbing the data. Okay, how we can do? We will have to import it, create a Beautiful Soup object, very simple. Which parser we are going to use? That means there are different types of parsers to scrap the data or to scrape the data. You can use any of that. Here HTML parser is by default. Soup.prettify. Okay, if you can do it, let's try to do it. Okay, so this is actually a module which you can install using pip. I am not sure. It's a data pulling out from HTML and XML files, works with favorite parsers, fine. Okay, let's try to write the code. Web scraping.py. Boom, we are in. Okay, so we'll have to import this library as it is, how they're telling. From BS4, Beautiful Soup is the library. We'll have to import from BS4, import Beautiful Soup. Okay, so Beautiful Soup is the class which we are importing from this library BS4. Then we are creating a soup object, soup. Okay, so soup object we are creating using this class which we have imported, Beautiful Soup. Here we will have to pass the parser, which parser we are going to use to scrape the data. Right now I am saying HTML parser. Parser is just going to scrape it. Okay, slice it, you can say. So which parser you are going to use, that you can write, and you can get lots of stuff. Installation of Beautiful Soup is very simple. You should do pip install Beautiful Soup. Okay, this line if you type, it will be installed. Then installation of parser, this is not required, all this kind of stuff. Okay, you can use HTML5 parser also. See here, HTML5 parser, this is one parser, this is one parser, HTML.parser, another parser which is available. Different parsers, nothing much difference will be there. How they scrape, only that much difference might be there. Okay, so there are lots of things here. Beautiful soup object we have created. So let's do one thing. Let's go to Beautiful Soup documentation. Quick start. Running the register document. Okay. So we'll have to actually give the document which you want to parse here. Okay, so you will have to give first of all beautiful soup. Then you have to give first parameters as the HTML document which you want to parse. So I told you, right, whatever is you are able to see on the screen is actually created using front-end languages, and one of the languages is HTML file. So in this HTML file, you can just imagine that all this kind of data is there, and you want to scrape that data, pull that data. So from which HTML document or which HTML file you want to scrape it, and which parser you want to use it. That is what they are trying to tell. Okay. So let me do one thing. So where is the documentation? I want your documentation. It's good. This is HTML documents here, HTML document. Okay, and we are not going to study HTML. Okay, so this is a language which you can just go and read. I think you can study this language only in one day. That's how much easy this language is. Okay. So HTML language looks something like this. It is all about tags here. HTML is all about tags. If you want a text, you will use my h1 tag. If you want a paragraph, you will use a p tag. If you want an image, you will use image tag. If you want maybe a head navigation bar, you will use nav tag. If you want a footer, you will use footer tag. If you want video, you can use video tag. So all these different types of tags are there which I used here to create this front end. Okay, so we are using this parser. Now what I want is I have to create a HTML file, but I don't want to create a HTML file right now. I actually want to make a request to some online website. Let's do Flipkart itself. Okay, so let's say we want to get some data from Flipkart. Okay, so first of all, if you want to get some data from the Flipkart website, you will have to actually do one thing. Let's say I want to get the information about this guy. Okay, I have to just right click on this, on which element you have to get information, right? Right click and do inspect. Okay, do the inspect. If you do inspect, you will get something like this. Okay, now you will understand here the image that is coming here, right? This is the code that has been written to get that image, and where is that image stored? Here it is. The path is given, see, of that particular image. So if you just hover over here, it will say that the box, see there, see here, you will understand. When I hover, a blue color box is coming, right? That is actually div. Div means a box. Okay, so if I just scroll again over that, then see here that div, it is highlighting that box. So whatever the responsible part of this part is there, right? That code is actually written here. Let's see. I want some more information. Okay, see here. If you just click on this tag, then the whole box is coming, right? So let me do. Hover, see here, that box is coming. So if I hover, that small box inside that it is there. That is what it is saying. So if you hover over there, inside that again one box is there. Hover over that, inside that again one box is there. That is what it is like. And after that, inside that image is there. That is what it is telling. Okay. So what we'll have to do is actually we'll have to figure out this element first of all. Which is this element which is responsible for getting the data. Right now, let's say we want this image. Okay. So we are responsible. Which is the element here? Image is the element. Okay. And just check what is the class or the ID that is given for that. Very important. The class or the ID that is given for that becomes very important, because actually what we'll do is, see here, this is the whole HTML program for this whatever page you're seeing here right on the screen. This is the whole HTML program for that. This is very big. Okay, see here, all those tags are closed, so you are not able to see it, but this is very big. Okay, every tag is again nested inside it. So I want to pull the data, this image, from this particular whole code. So what I have to do is I have to tell my program, hey, go to this Flipkart website and go to this page will open. Once this page open, go and search where the image tag is there, because here again multiple images might be there. Even this is an image, so here also an image tag might be there. What is tag? Tag is actually a syntax of an HTML. Okay, so it is actually used to display images in HTML language. If you want to display an image, you will use image tag. If you want to display some text, you will use h1 tag, h2 tag, h3 tag, something like this. If you want to display a paragraph information, then you will use p tag, something like that. Okay, we'll have to figure out the tag for this. Which is the tag here used? Here it is saying image tag is there. After tag, there are multiple images here, right? So all images it will pull if you do like that. If you pull the data from image, wherever the image tag is there, pull all the data from that image tag. If you wrote a program like this, it will pull all the images that are available in this whole website. Lots of images are available, right? So we don't want to do that. We want to just figure out this data, right? So image, every tag will be given some ID or class. Okay, ID and class is used to uniquely identify the elements. Okay, so ID for, see here, the class name that is given for this guy, this image is different than the class name that is given for other one. Okay, let me do and show you here. Just do inspect here and see here, the class name for this guy is actually different. I feel CS34. Okay, CS34. Okay, so something is wrong here. Okay, see here, CS64 underscore something is there. Okay, this is the whole class name. This one is also the same. I think this is same because this is built in React or some front-end framework. I feel so. I'm sure that it is built in this language, so it is same. Or else for a normal website, it will not be same. Okay, let's open our website. Okay, so because for security reasons, now onwards the web development has evolved a lot. Okay, so before it was different. Nowadays we use frameworks like React and all those kind of stuff where the whole code is not visible. Okay, so if you just want to see the code for this, right, you will not be able to see the code of this because it is built in React. If I just click on view page source, here there is no code. This is actually a simple program that is there, but you will not be able to see the whole program what is there, all these images and all there is, all this you will not be able to see it because it is built in React and all. Okay, so if it is not built in React and all, using front-end frameworks, there is something called as front-end languages and front-end frameworks. So if it is built using front-end frameworks, then you will not be able to see all those kind of stuff. But if it is built using normal front-end languages like HTML, CSS and JavaScript, then you can easily be able to see it. For example, this one. This is built only in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, so you must be able to easily pull this data out. Okay. Let's say we want to get this data. Let's build EduTech Solutions LLP. This data I want to pull it from this website, and I want to basically download it on my program. Inspect this. You will go and reach to that particular tag, which is responsible for displaying the data. Okay. You will go and see. Here, there is an H3 tag. And inside that it is written, let's build EduTech Solution. That is what it is saying. So we want to pull this data from this H3 tag. Okay. So there is actually, I think, no class here. Is it given? Class is not given. Okay. But you will find that every tag, div means a container or a box. Okay. Every tag will be given a class or a ID. ID and classes are used to uniquely identify the elements. Okay, because there might be multiple containers, there might be multiple images inside a web page, there might be multiple text inside a web page. So how do you uniquely identify each text? Classes and IDs are used for that. Okay, let's say we want to pull the data from this div container. Okay, this div container is having a class footer info, and from this class footer info I want to pull the data from this. Okay, so you know what, how do you actually make a request? This is actually Beautiful Soup, and Beautiful Soup is used to actually parse the data and all those kind of stuff and pull the data, do the web scraping. But how do you actually make a request to any server in Python? How to make a request to any server in Python? Okay, so there is a library for it that is called as request. Okay, so import request. Okay, so I am just talking about, forget about web scraping, just see first of all about how do you actually make a request using Python. If you want to do it directly, you will go to a browser, go on browser and type youtube.com, and that's how the youtube.com will open. If you want to do it using Python without the browser, now how to do it, I'll show you. Okay, import request, import this library, and then write, let's say I want to open youtube.com, so I'll write create a variable URL is equals to http whole URL I'm writing of youtube.com, youtube.com youtube.com. Okay, I'm writing the whole URL. Okay, now what I have to do is I'll just say import request as req. Okay, so this syntax is very much familiar. Req, now I'll say dot, I want to do a get request to this particular URL. What I have written, I'll explain you. Okay, whatever request is there, whatever response will come from the server, I will store it in this variable response. Okay, and let's try to print response. Okay, very simple program is there. What did I write here? Request.get. Okay, so what happens is, whenever you want to make a request to any particular website, right, there are different ways of making a request. One of the way is get request. Second one way is actually post request. Third way is actually put request. Fourth is delete request. These four request types are there through which you can make a request. Okay, so that is not I will not be explaining all those kind of stuff now, because that is actually completely a different class. So just understand this much. There are these different ways to actually make a request. Okay, so how did I understand should I make get request itself? So actually you understand it. If anything is open on the browser, right? If any website is opening on the browser, that means you will be making a get request. Okay, why? Because browser can do only get request. Okay, so any website that you can open on the browser, that website actually is using get request first of all. It might be using post request also, but it will open using get request. Okay, these are different ways of making request. Okay, different methods that are used in making request. I'll making a simple get request to this particular URL and then getting the response from the server. As simple as that. If you did not understand, you can just ask me. Okay, let's try to do if it works. Python web scraping.py. Enter. It will take some time and it got some error. Invalid host provided. Okay, invalid host provided basically means that here whatever I have written, there is something wrong with this. Okay, so is wrong something like this. This is wrong. Okay, so it was not getting invalid URL. HTTPS something I did again wrong. www.youtube.com. Check what it is saying. So my URL is wrong. Invalid URL it is saying. So no schema supplied. Perhaps you may use HTTP. HTTPS. Okay. HTTP. No, something is wrong. HTTPS. Let it do one thing. YouTube.com. I wrote it right. I'm just writing what is the server you want to make request, what is the domain you want to make request to, so that I have stored it in this variable URL. Okay, HTTPS so that was my mistake, I wrote this ulta. So I got some response here, response 200. Okay, so in this whole web world, right, where we have front end, back end, HTTP, request, response, all this have some codes. Okay, different types of ways you can make request, get request, post request. This is a complete different discussion. Okay, when to use get, when to use post, and all those will be completely there in a web class. But there are different codes for this. For example, if you get a 404 error, that means the file which you are trying to see which is not present on the server. So there are different codes that are given. If you are getting 200, that means successfully you have got the response. So we have actually getting 200 here, that means we have successfully got some response from the server. What is the response that we have got from the server? I can just use here response dot. All these properties are there which I can use. Okay, and inside this my response is stored. So I think there is something called as response.json also. Response.json. Okay, get the JSON response whatever is coming from YouTube, and something is wrong. JSON decoder expecting one value. Okay, so no. 1 minute, I'll just check what is the issue. Response dot maybe text URL headers, lot of things are there which you can get from this. Response dot content also is there. Response dot content, let's print and see response dot content. Oh, response dot content is printing this all thing whatever still going on. Oh, so this is an HTML file, you saw. Response dot, how did I understand it's a HTML file? Seeing here itself I'll understand. HTML file will always start with a HTML tag and end with a HTML tag. Always. See here. Here it is ending with a HTML tag. That means it's an HTML file. HTML program. And this is the program. Oh. So all this is actually the response that we got when you make requests to YouTube server. Lots of things happen. See here, lots of data came. Okay. So that is how it works. You can make requests to some other website also, and you will actually get some response. Okay, so I'll just API dummy API. So we will just make some responses to some other websites. Let's say we will make some response to this particular website. Okay, so they're saying that you should make a request to this particular URL and you will get some response. Okay. So see here, they have written here, okay, different routes. So make a request to this particular URL, and you make a GET request, then you will get something. If you make a GET request like this, you will get some other data, all those kind of stuff. So let's make a request to this particular endpoint. I'll just copy till here. This is called as domain name, right? Till .com it is called as domain name. .com called as domain name. Perfect, looks good. After this domain name, what I will type is, I'll just type these all things. If you want 100 posts, you can type, they're saying that after the URL, you can type /posts if you want 100 posts, okay. If you want 10 users, you can type /users after the URL, after the domain name. I'll type /users, and if I make a request to this particular URL right now, this domain name, after that /users, I will get in JSON, I will get a response from the server of 10 users with whatever names and all those kind of stuff. So let's check what response we get. Yes, we have got some response here like this, okay, which is actually in JSON format. You might not be able to read it. So let's convert it to JSON. Rest.json should work. Rest.json, and yes, this is JSON data, okay. You must be not be able to read it, so I will just prettify it. There is one function from, I think, pp print prettify. How to prettify JSON? Python prettify JSON. Okay, how to make it look good? That is what I want to see. There is a module which is, I think, pp print import JSON. Okay, JSON module can be used what? Okay. ppprint is also can be used. If you just type ppprint.pprint, ppprint. Okay, so if you can do like this also. I want this to look good, so import ppprint. So this is the Python library which is used to prettify JSON response. ppprint, and I can just type here print ppprint dot ppprint. How did I understand this? I understood it from documentation. You should write like this. So this library ppprint dot ppprint function we are calling, and inside that you pass the JSON response and it will prettify and give. See here. Wow, looks good. It has prettified and given. This is actually a JSON response, right? Key value pairs are there. I told you how a JSON will look, right? Key value pairs. That is how this is looking. See here. It is a list and it is having a key value pairs. So this is how you can make a request using Python to any URL, to any domain, to any server. Okay, I hope that is clear, and you can get the response whatever they are sending using this functions like .json and all. If they are sending JSON response, if they are not sending JSON response, you can use .content and all those kind of stuff. .body is there, rest.body is there, all those kind of functions you can use. Okay, but just remember that this is a request module is used to actually make a request to some particular endpoints, okay, or to some particular websites or domains or some servers and all. So whatever this HTML file is there, right? So I want the HTML file response. What I want is I want the HTML file from this response. I want the HTML file, okay? Not from this. Let me change it and make it YouTube. Or let me make it Flipkart and see, or we can do it with some other one. Websites to scrape. Okay, let's check if there are some websites on which I can do scraping. Okay, let's go and check this one. Okay, top 500 sites on the web. Okay, Yahoo. Let's try to scrape this website. Okay, so browser by default it will make which type of request? Get request. By default, every browser will only make get type of request. Okay, we want to scrape this website. Let me write. I'll first of all make a request to this particular URL, and I'll grab the HTML. I'll grab the HTML page. Okay, so I'll just say that, hey, please make a request to this particular URL and grab the HTML page from that. Okay, make a get request to this particular URL, store it in the response, and just do rest dot text. Let's see rest dot text. What is there? Print HTML file. Okay, whatever from the response, whatever is returned, right? That I am storing it in this variable HTML file and printing that. Okay, so this looks like an HTML file. See here. How did I understand here? Ending with HTML, right? So it looks like an HTML file. This is an HTML file. I understood this much, right? So what we have to do is from this HTML file we have to scrape some data, right? So which module we are going to use to scrape some data? Beautiful Soup. And Beautiful Soup is actually a library which is used to scrape some data from any HTML file. Okay, and HTML file itself are the basics for foundations for creating websites. From PS4 import Beautiful Soup. We have done this. I've told you, right? Then you will create a soup object. Soup is equal to Beautiful Soup. After Beautiful Soup, we have to actually pass something here. Okay, create a soup object, and now I told you, right? You should mention two things here. First parameter is you should pass the HTML file which you want to scrape. So HTML file is actually stored in this variable. What we did here is we actually using request module we made a request where we made request to this particular website which we want to scrape. Which request we made? Get request we made. We used rest.text function and we actually text attribute, and then we stored all the HTML file when we made a request, right? In response you will get some HTML file which will be displayed on the browser. Okay, so that response what you got right, that HTML file I stored in this variable HTML file. Okay, and then I am just doing Beautiful Soup, pass the HTML file, and second parameter what it takes is it takes a parser, right? So we are going to write HTML.parser. That's it, very simple. Now let's print what is there in soup. What is there in soup? Let's see. Boom, some request is going, I feel, and we have got some response. So soup is actually having something very beautiful here. Soup is having lots of stuff. Okay, so now let's go to this library which is Beautiful Soup and try to see how do we actually get something. Soup.prettify, if you do this HTML title, HTML file will be prettified. That means it will be arranged properly. Looks good. Let's try to do it and see. Soup.prettify, come on, prettify. If I do, it will actually prettify my HTML file. Soup is actually holding a HTML file itself. Okay, whatever you have scraped, right, that scraped HTML file, Soup is holding. Now it is prettified. Looks good. So again, what you can do? You can do soup.title. Oh, you will get the title of that HTML page. If you can do soup.title.name, you can do soup.title.string. Wow, looks good. You can do soup.peas. If you want to get the title of this HTML page, then you can do soup.title. Okay, very simple. Let's check. Soup.title, and it should print me the title of that particular HTML file. See here, nothing is there, title is not there, so it is not printing what. Soup.title, if I am not wrong, soup.title is actually not a function. Sorry, it's an attribute. Okay, so soup.title, and it should print me title. Yes, we have got title. We got title tag. Title tag is actually used to display the title of any HTML file. Okay, so inside this title tag we have some text. If you want to get that text, you can do soup.title.text. If you want to get only the text of that and not the title tag. I told you, right? HTML may you have all tags, different tags for creating different things. See here, we got it right. This is how you can get any part of any particular HTML page. See here, any website what you are seeing, right? This is actually made using which language? This is front end, right? Made using which language? HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Okay, and HTML is basic fundamental thing of all these things. It is a skeleton. So what we are doing is we are making a request to this particular website, getting the HTML code of that, and then we are trying to get the data from that HTML code. Whatever HTML code is there inside that, all the data is there. We are trying to pull that data or scrape the data from that. If you want to get all the P's, P's means what? All the P tags that are used in this HTML file. I want to see all that. You will get all the P tags. See here, only one P tag is there itself, so this P tag you are getting. Okay, so if you do .p, I think it will return only one P tag, first P tag. So see here, P tag is there. You can get a P tag of title class. That also you can do. If you want to get all the links that are available, that you can do. You can use find all A's. Nice. So different ways are there to now actually scrape this website, try to find those things from that particular website. So you can do beautiful soup, you can actually get the ID of that. Using ID you can try to select the tag. Now let's do one thing, okay? Let's say, to make it more clear, you must be not understanding few things, okay? So let's do one thing. Let's say that I want to get this information. Okay, this information whatever is there, I want to actually get this information from this website and I want to store it inside my program. First thing is right click this, do inspect, check what is the tag that is given for that particular element. H3 tag is there. See here, how to analyze complicated. Now I can do is, we have got the HTML page, right? So this whole HTML page, whatever these people have written, we have got the HTML page. How we got this HTML page? We actually made a request and got some response, right? It had a response, we got the HTML page. We gave it to this particular parser, so that now this parser has the power to select any part of this HTML page now. What we can say is this soup object dot I can say h3. What it will do is it will select only the h3 elements of this particular whole HTML page. This whole page what you are seeing, right? This is actually a one HTML file. Whole website page what you see, right? This is actually a one HTML file. Okay, so let's try to see what we get. We'll get all the h3s, I feel. If I'm not wrong, see here. We got all the h3s. Okay. So we ran here, we got h3s from this program. H3 is there, keyboard work down opportunity, something is written here. Then again one h3 is there, but lots of h3s, all the h3s we have got. We don't want all the h3s, we want only this particular h3. This particular h3, right? So if you want this particular h3, then you should go and check the ID or the class that is given to that particular element. Any ID or class is given to this particular element? Not given, right? So go to the previous one. Where is that? Okay, right. So go to this previous one. Go to the parent tag of that particular tag. So this was the tag, right? h3 ID and class is not there, so I am going to the parent tag, which is the parent of that particular tag which I am trying to search. So the parent is this one. Is this having any class? Yes, it is having container class. So I can say that, hey, do one thing. He tried to give me search a div tag inside this HTML file. Search a div tag which is having a class of container. I hope that only one class is there which is having container. Hope so. Okay, so let's do it. There are different ways to figure out to do this. See here, you can do soup.p the tag name, dot you can write the class name. That is one way to do it. There are different ways to do it using class. Okay, so see here, you are actually trying to scrape the website using element itself. This is what is called as selecting the element from this HTML file using the element or using the tag. Okay, I am trying to select the element. I use this tag to select the element. H1 tag I can use, H3 tag I can use, div I can use, p tag I can use, whichever tags, that all tags data will come. Now if you don't want to do it by tag, because if you do it by tag, all the tags will come that are there inside that. You want to do specifically by ID, then there are also other methods like find element using ID. There is a method which is find. Come on, where you are. There are lots of other methods like find by ID and all. So where they are. Searching the tree. Yes, I want to search inside the tree. Find all. Okay. Find all is there again. See here, find all function is there, which is used to find all the tags. I feel. Find by CSS class, you can do find by string, find by limit, recursive limit, find by tag, you can do directly by tag, find all A tags. Okay, that way you can do. So I don't want to do by that, I just want to do it by class. CSS selectors, using CSS selectors you can find or search the element which you want to scrape. Find by tag names or attributes, you can do using tag name or attributes here. Okay, so I can use like this soup.div, and inside this div I can write a class name which is container. Only get me this particular only scrape that particular div tag or that particular box from this HTML document which contains this particular class container. Error it is saying there is not there, so such things will actually go, and some errors might happen in such cases whenever you are making a request. Maybe the server is down. Server is down means what? The server is maybe computer is not running, so that time you might get some error whenever you are making requests also. Okay, so I will put all these things in try catch block because error should not happen. I'll say try all this stuff. This making request and all those kind of stuff is there, you try this because sometimes you might get error in making request also because maybe server is down. That time the request will not actually be processed itself, so you will get an error at the time. So I am using this one. Okay, try this. If you are getting any exception or you get any error, except exception is in print the E. Okay, that is print converting it into string. If you want to do it, you can do it, or else directly you can print E, no problems. Okay, so it is saying that container is not available. Okay, let's go and check. Is it container is not available? I'll just copy this. This is the class name which I am searching from this HTML tag. Let's check. Yep, we got it. See here, we have got soup.div container, and we have got this container now. Okay, so from this container I may say that I may want some text if it is there, but I don't think I'll get anything because of this, because inside this div tag there is no text, I feel. So let's see. Let's search something else which is having some ID. Let's search this one. Oh, this is also H3. Okay, not having any ID. Okay, so maybe we want something else. This one we can try. Let's try this one. Oh, here we have. Okay, this is a span tag. I want to scrape this text. I want to get this text from this website This is a span tag. See here I understood that span tag is used to create this, and the class is mobile. So I may say that soup.search for span tag inside that particular website or HTML page, and search for a class which is called as mobile, and get that one for me. This is one way to do it. This is actually called as searching by using attribute name, or searching using this one, the tag name. Okay, so there are different ways to do it. Where is this documentation? I'm searching for something else. Where is find by class and find by ID? Come on. Shit. So you can directly search using class name or find by ID, find by class name, all those kind of stuff. You can see find the parents, you can find the siblings. So for this to understand, you will have to know little bit of HTML. Okay, little bit of HTML at least you will have to know. If you know the HTML, then it is much more simple. Or else maybe little things must have not understood. Just inform me if you have not understood anything. Not like it. Find BS4. Find by class. How to find elements by class? Okay. So find all, div tag, and then class name. Okay, this is the entire word. Okay, so find all. Let's say I'll use a function which is soup dot find underscore all, and I'll say search for the span tag, which is having a class. Search for a span tag, and in dictionary I will have to write which is having a class of mobile. Okay, so in dictionary I have to write this. Looks good. Okay, I want this, and from that whatever is there, let's see what it prints first of all. From that I want the text which is there available inside that particular tag. It is an empty. Okay, so is it not there? I wrote something wrong. A span tag with a class mobile, capital M. So I must get that particular element itself. Okay, what I must get is the whole element. See here, this many are there. Oh, this many class names are mobile. This many are there elements inside this particular web page whose class name is mobile. So if you notice here, what I have got is actually a list. See here, it's a list of all these tags. I may say, let's say if I want only the first one from this, I may say that, hey, from all this whatever you have done, right, get me the first one from this. 0 index from this because it's a list. Now I must get the first index. Here I have got a span with class name as mobile and traffic, average traffic to competitors. Okay, so I got the element. Now if I want the text from this, I may do dot text. Whatever the element is there, on that I will do dot text and I will get this one, the text of that. Why it is taking time? Because it is actually making a request to that particular server first, waiting for some response that is coming from the server, and then it is doing all this kind of stuff. Okay, see here, this is how we are able to do it. So tomorrow we'll continue this class again, where we will scrape something more beautiful, something more meaningful, and we'll try to store that whatever we have scraped into the database, into a Excel sheet. Okay, so we'll understand this both the things also, how to store data into Excel sheets also using Python, as well as scraping also we'll understand. Okay, so hope you will basically join me tomorrow, where we'll scrape something more beautiful, and we'll try to see what we are doing whole throughout is actually opening some website, and maybe you want to pull some data from that website, right? That website is made using an HTML document. So from that HTML page, we are downloading the HTML page, and from that HTML page, we are actually picking out the data which we want. Okay, using the HTML tags and all those kind of stuff. That is how we do it. Okay, so that's it for tomorrow. We'll continue and hope tomorrow you'll be there. So tomorrow we'll continue this class. We'll try to build something tomorrow. Okay, thank you so much.